In the 7th year of our marriage, I found that my husband had left 2 letters for his first love. One was a love letter, and the other was a suicide note. In the next life, you'll be my wife. I'll leave my inheritance to you. No one will be allowed to bully you after I'm gone. I didn't want to break them up, so I immediately bought a plane ticket. In the morning, I ironed my husband's clothes for the last time and sent him out. At the entrance, he hesitated because he didn't receive my goodbye kiss. Daphne, don't be sulky. The lipstick mark last night was a misunderstanding. I just sent a friend home. Don't think too much. I neither cried nor made a scene. Oh, I don't care. Because I had already found a blind date partner and was ready to remarry. But he panicked. After sending James out, he lingered at the door, as if waiting for something. My tone was indifferent. You've got your briefcase and watch. What's wrong with you again? James' jaw tightened, and his brows knitted. He remained reservedly silent. We had been married for 7 years, and before that, I had pursued him for 3 years. A total of 10 years of love. I could understand every subtle change in James. He was asking for a goodbye kiss. Since I didn't lean in to kiss him and say, I love you, as usual, he felt something was off. Daphne, are you still angry? Be more generous. The lipstick mark was a misunderstanding. That girl wasn't feeling well, and I sent her home. It was left accidentally. I've been explaining all night. The chain of evidence is clear. Can you be more rational? His tone was calm, but there was condemnation between the lines. James was a lawyer, and his language logic had always been excellent. All his words were flawless. Even our prenuptial agreement was written neatly. He wouldn't wrong me, nor show any partiality. Last night, because of that scented suit jacket, I cried and shouted. I had carefully ironed it for him in the morning, without leaving a single wrinkle. To learn this ironing technique, I had many burns on my fingers. They were wrinkled and ugly. But in the evening, his jacket carried someone else's kiss. I was familiar with the color and taste of the lipstick mark. It was the favorite of his first love. When we first started dating, James would buy me perfumes and cosmetics as a favor. I was so touched that I thought this was a lifetime thing. Although I didn't like the color and taste at all, because they were very light. But it was his thought, wasn't it? I asked if we could change to another kind, but every year, James still gave me the same things, regardless of whether I liked them or not. Later, I found out that in fact, he was buying them for his first love. Giving them to her was the real thing, and giving them to me was just an addition. I believe you, okay? I looked at my empty finger. I had taken off the ring last night. There was a red mark on my index finger from the tight-fitting ring. Would James notice? If he had pleaded with me just once, I might have softened my heart and forgiven him again. But James quickly glanced over my hand and was about to go out to work. By the way, I want to eat fish tonight. He assigned tasks complacently. I was more like a nanny than a wife to him. Watching the man's straight figure disappear at the elevator entrance, my heart sank little by little. The love letter and the suicide note were found on the bookshelf. They were blatantly placed in a romance novel, not afraid of being discovered. James didn't allow me to enter the study. I was very obedient. For so long in our marriage, I had never entered. However, on that day, James left a document behind and, breaking his usual rule, gave me the password to the study. The password is 716523. I was stunned. The first 3 digits were James' birthday, but the last 3 were not my birthday. The person on the phone was urging, "The court session is about to start. Hurry up." I was in a flurry. When I took the document, I knocked over a book. James never read romance novels. When I opened the pink cover, there was the name of his first love inside. To Mia. You are the treasure of my life. This sentence was written in James' serious and elegant handwriting. His handwriting was beautiful. Many times, I wanted him to write me a letter, but James always refused, saying that he didn't like handwritten letters. It was too troublesome. Inside the book, the handwritten letters James wrote to his first love fell out. One was a love letter, and the other was a suicide note. The love letter was 19 pages long. The words got smaller and smaller towards the end, and he added at the end, so much love in so few words. The suicide note was written carefully and meticulously. James had a family inherited genetic disease and was afraid that something unexpected might happen to him suddenly. In the suicide note, there was also a list of his inheritance, with most of it left to his first love. James also bought insurance for himself, and the beneficiary was also his first love's name. Mia, even if I leave this world first, I will still protect your remaining life. The contract was written neatly and formally, but every word showed his partiality to his first love. That night, James reached out to take off my shoulder strap. I pushed his hand away, feeling a bit nauseous. Daphne? I want you. He called out emotionally, his fingertips tracing my collarbone. Usually, I would blush and let him do as he pleased. It's the fertile period now. You said you don't want a child yet. I said calmly, stating the facts. On the first day of our marriage, he made 3 rules with me. First, no children for now. But when it came to our family, James used my unfit physical condition as an excuse, completely avoiding his own reasons. Every time my parents saw me, they had a cold face. I had been taking the medicine to promote pregnancy and protect the fetus for year after year. My menstruation became irregular. When I saw a doctor, she reminded me, if you continue like this, it will be very difficult to have a child. I went home and told James, and a flash of joy appeared in his eyes. Mom and Dad are just concerned about me. Endure it for my sake, baby. My career is on the rise. Let's have a child when it stabilizes. James coaxed me for a few days, and I softened my heart and was willing to continue drinking the bitter Chinese medicine. Now, upon hearing my refusal, James' face turned cold, and he rolled over and went to sleep. Get something for nothing and act coy. I won't take the initiative this month. I stayed up all night. It was clearly a double bed, but my back was always cold all year round. He clearly knew that I was cold-bodied, but all year round, James kept his distance from me, except when he needed me. I opened my phone and booked a one-way ticket back to my hometown. I sent a message to my mom. Mom, I'm going to remarry. Help me find a blind date partner. She immediately agreed. Good girl, you finally got rid of that ungrateful wretch. Wait, Mom has a wide network. Before I met him, I knew he had a first love. When we got engaged, because of his parents' obstruction, his first love also got angry and refused James' proposal. But the hotel and the MC had already been arranged. James was thin-skinned, so he turned to me. Daphne, would you like to give it a try with me? His gaze was determined. He didn't even kneel on one knee, just looking down at me. Because James knew that I wouldn't reject his request. After all, I had chased him for 3 years. That day, I gave up my overseas assignment, put on a veil directly, and got married in a flash. People around me said that after 3 years, I finally got James. I always felt lucky for getting this bargain. James was good-looking and from a well-off family. In the years after marriage, his law firm had branches all over Shanghai. When we went out, people called me Mrs. James. That day, I happily waited for him in the parking lot with a pregnancy test stick. His career was stable now, and a child would be the icing on the cake. The car parked in its place, and the windows were tightly shut. I tapped on the car window sweetly, pressed my face close, and said, "Mr. James, you're going to be a father." But James quickly rolled down the car window, and there was a familiar fragrance in the car. It was faint, yet it made my eyes red. In the passenger seat, his first love also had red-rimmed eyes, and her lipstick was smudged messily as if she had been kissed. "I'm sorry, sister-in-law." I forced myself on James. "I'm heartbroken and lost control of my emotions. You don't mind, do you?" With her back to James, Mia's tone was gentle, but the corners of her mouth curled up, her eyes smiling in a curve, and she made a humiliating gesture towards me. I threw the pregnancy test stick right at her face, trembling with anger. "Get out. Is this how your parents taught you to be a mistress?" But James raised his hand and slapped me. My ears rang, and my right earlobe hurt badly. The earring he gave me fell off along with a piece of flesh and blood. I covered my face in a panic and slumped to the ground. A numb pain spread in my lower abdomen, surging like waves of the sea. He stared at my blood-shot face in shock, yet still spoke righteously. "You've gone too far, Daphne. You clearly know that Mia comes from a single-parent family. I really hate it when people rub salt in others' wounds. How could you become so vicious?" I had severe pain in my stomach and curled up, begging James to take me to the hospital. "I'm pregnant. Hurry up, husband." The word husband stopped James for a moment, but the first love in the passenger seat let out a groan. "Woo, it hurts." He was immediately attracted by his first love. She also covered her forehead, where there was only a bruise the size of a fingernail. "James, my head hurts so much. But you'd better send sister-in-law first. Is she pregnant?" As she said this, Mia's eyes were full of grievance and tears, sobbing continuously. James hurriedly wiped away her tears and instinctively started the car. "Daphne, you did this on purpose. If anything happens to Mia, I'll sue you." My husband, a lawyer with a 100% winning rate, was now glaring at me and saying he would sue me because of his first love. "Husband, I'm pregnant." James frowned. "Being pregnant isn't your get-out-of-jail-free card. You're not that delicate. Stop pretending. Have some self-respect." The car drove away in a hurry. Later, I lost the baby. But James accompanied me for a month, staying by my bedside day and night, feeding me nutritious porridge, coaxing me to receive treatment, and even helping me take a bath. The proud son of heaven was willing to humble himself. Everyone also advised me that men always make mistakes and that I should forgive him. I softened my heart again. He wrote a promise letter, vowing that he would never let me get hurt even a little bit. "Daphne, I'm traditional. You're the only one for me in this life. Mia is just an ordinary friend of mine." When the news came that James had gotten into a fight with others, I was throwing out the last of the trash. All the photos of James and me were thrown away. There were also couple-style clothes and handmade everlasting flowers. I used to cherish them so much, but now I realized they were just fragile and useless trash. James refused to wear the couple-style clothes I bought for him, thinking they were beneath his dignity. However, in the wardrobe, there had always been a pair of wristwatches. The men's one was his, and I had seen his first love wearing the women's one. "Sister-in-law, come quickly. James is fighting with someone in the parking lot. He has blood on his forehead and his fingers are injured too." As a lawyer, he was well respected and rarely got into conflicts with others. Even when someone cut in front of him on the road, he would silently write down the license plate number and report it, never getting his hands dirty. He was calm and self-controlled. Even when I got into a car accident, He could handle it without changing his expression. At first, I fell in love with his rationality and calmness. Now, I only hated his calmness. Because he could lose control for another woman, but was overly rational towards me. I tilted my head to hold the phone, unhurriedly cutting the lucky bamboo. This was a plant that I had raised for 7 years after climbing thousands of steps to the most efficacious temple to pray for him. Now, I broke it bit by bit and stuffed it into the trash can. Who did James fight for? This question hit the nail on the head. James's friend stammered. I was impatient and wanted to hang up the phone. Sister Mia was bullied by hooligans, and James got excited and started fighting. Sister-in-law, they're innocent. Don't mind it. James is calling your name, sister-in-law. Come quickly. In the past, as soon as I got this kind of news, I would have rushed out to find James. But now, I just felt annoyed. The trash wasn't even properly packed, and yet he was causing trouble everywhere. So annoying. The person on the other side kept calling. James snatched the phone, his voice cold. Daphne, don't think too much. Don't worry. I just accidentally. Yeah, I know, I interrupted him. Can you go to the hospital by yourself? And take that girl for a check-up as well. You can have dinner outside tonight. I won't cook. He didn't expect me to say this. After a long silence, Daphne, are you angry? On the other side, a girl gently retorted. Sister-in-law, James was just helping me. Don't blame him. He works so hard outside. As his wife, don't you feel sorry for him? You don't care about him even when he's injured. No wonder James said you're a shrew. James covered the microphone. Daphne, don't listen to her nonsense. She's just a little girl, speaking rashly. Oh, he was afraid that I would blame his first love. So, over the past 7 years, in his eyes, I was a hot-tempered and unreasonable wife. I said to the other end of the phone, your husband stood up for another woman, got his head broken and bleeding, and was even willing to sacrifice his career. How great. He was being a good Samaritan. How could I mind? My eyes became sore, and my heart tightened. I clearly remembered that one night after getting off work, a group of hooligans had been following me. In a panic, I called James and begged him to pick me up. Don't think too much. You're married, not a young maiden. Why would they be interested in you? Come on, be good. Don't disturb my work. Now, James fought for his first love and might get involved in a lawsuit, affecting his career that he had built up over so many years. He couldn't control his fists. My 10-year relationship seemed like a complete joke. There was a long silence on the phone. Daphne? I'll come home for dinner tonight. I want to eat fish. Is that okay? James' tone was unusually low, even hiding a hint of panic. This was his unique way of apologizing. I liked cooking. Every time he made a mistake, as long as James was willing to order a dish, I would stop crying and start smiling. After throwing the photo albums into the trash can, I went to the courier station to send my luggage and casually replied, "Oh, whatever." His tone was flustered. "Wait for me. I'll go back right away and buy a fish." When he got home, the meal was already on the table. I cooked the last dinner carefully, spending an afternoon preparing it. All the ingredients were the best. James, with a bandage on his head, carried a fish and sat down at the dining table in a daze. It took him a long time to come up with a compliment. "You cooked very fast tonight. Let's put this fish in the fridge first. I'll try cooking it tomorrow." Yeah. James picked up the biggest piece of fish and put it in my bowl. "Daphne, you've worked hard. Eat this first." I calmly threw the fish away. "Thanks. I don't like fish." I had always disliked fish but endured it to cook for James. Now, I didn't want to pretend anymore. James' face turned pale, and his voice was hoarse. Okay, I admit I was impulsive today. I'm sorry. But, I'm a grown man. How could I bear to see a woman being bullied? Daphne, you're so kind. You surely can't be so petty. Yes, I'm kind. That's why I'm going to let go and leave, to help you two lovebirds be together. At that moment, a hasty phone call came in. Seeing that it was his good brother's number, James turned on the speakerphone, his tone showing dissatisfaction. What's up? I'm having dinner with my wife. His good brother was even more anxious. Brother, Mia was cornered by that group of people from this morning. They've been chased away, but she was so scared that she's been crying non-stop. Are you coming? Ah, never mind. It's okay. You can stay and have dinner with sister-in-law. Actually, we can handle it too. From the other side, there was the girl's increasingly loud crying. It made me extremely annoyed. James looked at me, his eyes filled with barely hidden panic. His body had already stood up, and his muscle memory also showed his love. Eat a few more bites? After all, it took 5 hours to cook. It's tiring. And these are all your favorite dishes. Stay with me and finish this meal, okay? James didn't answer. His fingertips holding the phone turned white. He was very nervous, afraid that I wouldn't let him go, yet worried about his first love shedding tears. Daphne, but she's crying. It's just a meal. We'll have plenty of time to eat in the future, right? He still thought we had a future. My heart grew colder bit by bit. I stepped aside. Often, the final disappointment comes from small things. All the emotions accumulated before were crushed by a light straw, and things had gone beyond repair. Go to her. Don't regret it. Hearing my reply, James tightened his lips. He didn't expect that I didn't try to hold him back, nor was I angry or jealous. Before leaving, James repeatedly asked if I was feeling unwell, saying that he'd be back soon. Whatever. Come back whenever you want. Anyway, this was the last dinner. He had given up his last chance himself. As soon as James left, I picked up my suitcase and headed to the airport. After getting on the plane, I went straight to sleep. The divorce agreement was placed on the desk in the study. It was convenient for him to sign it as soon as he got home. As soon as the plane landed, a continuous stream of phone calls bombarded me. I didn't answer any of them. I went straight to the bathroom to touch up my makeup, and then went to the pre-arranged blind date tea restaurant. The elders were very efficient. They had arranged 3 candidates in the morning. The first blind date partner arrived early. When I saw his face, I was shocked. It was our former class monitor, William. Since he got into a prestigious school, started his own business, and went abroad to study, we only had WeChat contact left. After getting married, my social circle shrank, and I only revolved around James. I smiled and asked, "Long time no see. Are you here to laugh at me, old classmate?" William raised his eyebrows and handed me the menu. "Miss Daphne, I think my conditions are quite good. You can consider me. I'm getting older too. I also want to find a suitable person to be with. I have everything, but I lack a wife who catches my eye to enjoy life with me." His tone didn't seem like he was joking. I had no appetite after getting off the plane, so I only ordered a glass of orange juice. William quickly ordered several dishes to relieve greasiness, and they were all to my taste. Noticing my inquisitive look, he added, "I remember you don't eat seafood. At previous gatherings, Miss Daphne mentioned your preferences once, and I happen to remember them. The truly caring people will always remember. Those who don't care about you, even if you've been together for many years, will still not pay attention." Thinking about this, my tears suddenly dropped into the drink. All the grievances accumulated over the years finally couldn't be held back and burst out. William was flustered and handed me a tissue. Then a ring fell out of his pocket. He quickly picked it up in a hurry. Sorry, was I too hasty? Without thinking much, I took the ring and put it on my finger. It fit perfectly, covering the original mark. Let's give it a try. Eager to get out of that shadow and prove that I was worthy of love, I was willing to take a gamble. During the wedding preparation, the divorce agreement hadn't been sent back for a long time. The phone rang again, and I finally answered it. James's voice was hoarse and urgent. Daphne, where have you gone? The lucky bamboo you planted for me is gone. The plants on the balcony are almost withered. I don't know how to take care of them. And the fish in the fridge has gone bad. What should I do? Why didn't you tell me you went on a trip to relax? You took all the photo albums in the room. Why didn't you take me? He was always smart. Why was he asking knowingly? That crappy bamboo and the photos, I threw them all away. I twirled the ring on my finger. Don't play dumb. Didn't you see the divorce agreement in the study? Sign it quickly and send it over. I'm in a hurry to get married. James refused to sign the agreement. He carefully went over the legal provisions regarding divorce. I give you all my salary, and there's no third party involved. Why do you want a divorce? Is it because you want a child? Mia and I were innocent before. Don't bring up the past. Don't be so impulsive. Can't we sit down and talk? I closed my eyes and started to recall the 2 letters in his study. I read them out to James. Baby Mia, I hope every day is sunny where you are. I miss you every night in my dreams. Marrying her was just a task. I don't love her. There's no way we'll have a child. Those medicines are harmful to the body, and she can't conceive my child. I'd rather be childless for the rest of my life than wrong you. Do you see my determination? So much love in so few words. In the next life, Mia will be my Mrs. James. James was speechless. He bit his tongue and tried to explain. Daphne, look at the date of the signature. Those were letters written just after we got married. People change. I can't live without you now. His voice had a sobbing tone. A grown man was swearing over the phone line. Oh, they were written in the first few years of our marriage. During those many nights, the study was brightly lit. I was in the room planning for the rest of our family's life. But he was reminiscing about his first love, deliberately devising ways to prevent me from getting pregnant. He even used all his connections to pave the way for his first love's future. I was never in his blueprint. James still wanted to argue, but someone leaned over behind me, his voice gentle and refined. Daphne, it's time to sleep. On the other end of the phone, it was completely quiet on James's side. Suddenly, he smashed something and roared. Daphne, you have a third party? We're not divorced yet, and you're already eager to sleep with someone else? Are you so lustful that you think I can't satisfy you? William reached out and took the phone. Regarding the divorce, send a lawyer to talk. You're an unqualified piece of trash. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Looking at William in his suit, the words he said were tough and vulgar. James's brother sent me photos. He said James was hospitalized after drinking. In the photo, he looked haggard, holding some fragments in his hand. Sister-in-law, brother heard that you left home and threw away your souvenirs. He went to the garbage dump to look for the photo albums and that bamboo. James regrets it now. Sister-in-law, have pity on him. Don't be so petty. Otherwise, Sister Mia will come and take brother away, and you'll regret it. Marriage is like this. As a woman, don't you understand? I replied crisply. Ask his first love to take care of him. Mrs. James should be her, not me. Tell James that he doesn't have to wait for the next life. I'll fulfill their wish in this life." The person on the bed heard the sound and opened his eyes in disbelief. James stumbled out of bed and tried to grab his brother's phone, but I had already turned off the video with a click. Lying back, I touched my gradually rounded belly, a bit surprised. Recently, William took me to try on wedding dresses. He thought my waist was too thin and cooked himself to make up for my nutrition. "What kind of life have you been living these years? You're almost all skin and bones." The doctor said that for a regular menstruation, besides taking medicine on time, you need to soak your feet every day for conditioning. He then brought over a foot-soaking basin and naturally reached out to take off my shoes. I was used to taking care of James. It was the first time a man took care of me like this. My whole body tensed up, and my hands instinctively rested on William's shoulders. His shoulders were broad and sturdy, allowing me to hold on steadily. "Aren't we progressing too fast?" He massaged my ankles attentively. "We're not young anymore. The progress should be faster. Otherwise, how can we make up for the years we've missed? By the way, I found a famous lawyer to handle your divorce lawsuit." I casually asked for the name. "He's quite well known. James from the law firm in Shanghai." I didn't expect to run into James at the cocktail party. He brought his first love as his female companion. Mia saw me at a glance. "Isn't this sister-in-law? You're already here looking for a rich catch even before getting divorced? James has been looking for you for so long and was so worried about you. I feel sorry for him." James's eyes fell on me, his lips tightened, and he said nothing. He finally noticed that the ring on my finger had been changed. His pale lips trembled, but he remained silent. Mia sized up my clothes. "Did you really manage to hook a man? You're dressed in all luxury brands. James has recently taken on a big business deal. His career will improve even more. Don't you regret it? William, do you know about this boss's lawsuit?" They didn't know that the cocktail party was funded by William. I wanted to avoid the two of them, but James grabbed me. He stared at the ring, squeezing my hand painfully. "Daphne, be honest with me. When exactly did you betray me? How can that man compare to me?" I shook off his hand and took a few steps back. In Mia's gloating expression, I bumped into the person behind me. Mia gently reminded, "You bumped into William. Could your new boyfriend be some small boss here? The deal might fall through later." James also straightened his posture and greeted William. "William, nice to meet you for the first time. For my sake, don't blame this lady." He frowned at me, as if thinking he was showing mercy. William put his arm around my shoulders and chuckled softly. "You two are mistaken. James, this is the friend whose divorce lawsuit I asked you to handle." James immediately looked at me in shock. The wine glass in his hand fell to the ground, wetting his first love's white dress. "James, are you that excited? Do you know each other?" William handed over the materials. "I require that this lawsuit be won, and my future wife should get the best result." When I was applying lipstick in the bathroom, James suddenly appeared and pressed me against the wall. He had been drinking, and his whole body reeked of alcohol. He directly leaned down to kiss me. I slapped him. "Ex-husband, show some self-respect." James blankly touched my finger. "Where's the ring, Daphne?" "It has our initials on it. We promised to be together for a lifetime. Do you want a child? I'll give you one, okay?" I wondered if his first love would be so angry as to jump up if she heard this. I shook my head. "I don't want your child. And I don't want you either." James hugged his head, smoked frantically, and his voice was hoarse and choked. "Why? Is it just because of those 2 letters? Those were stupid things I did when I was young. It wasn't just because of the letters." I touched my scabbed earlobe. James stared at the wound, his expression ugly. I was too young back then and didn't know how to care for others. I'm mature now and know how to love. I can't sleep all day since you left. Suddenly, he took out a photo from his pocket. I bought that lucky bamboo back from the temple again and wrote our names on it. And I bought back those photo albums at a high price and fixed them all. I also asked someone to teach me how to cook your favorite dishes. The me in the past would surely have been so touched that I would forgive him immediately. Love is like this. People only start to cherish when you don't want it anymore. I sighed. James, stop making a scene. This is not decent. I've lost my wife. What do I care about face? Daphne, how cruel you are. Can't you love me again? When the security guards dragged him out, his first love looked disgusted beside him. I didn't want to pay attention either. I just wanted to break off the relationship quickly. So, being pestered by someone you don't like is so disgusting. James set the house on fire and hid inside, not willing to come out. His good brother urged me to go and save him in the middle of the night. To avoid being held responsible for a life, I rushed to the house. Only then did I see that he had been rescued by the firefighters. He was all black, and in his hand, he was holding a pot of broken soil. Daphne? You're here. Our home is gone. But I saved all the flowers and plants you like. Look. He reeked of alcohol and accidentally dropped the flower pot on the ground. The delirious James became even more crazy. He hugged the soil on the ground and cried out. I just wanted to heat up the food. I've kept the last meal you made in the fridge. Can we not get divorced? Please. He cried like a child, without any restraint or calmness. That face already showed signs of age, different from the high-spirited look when I was chasing him. I didn't feel any love in my heart, just annoyance. I left him with a sentence, hurry up and get the divorce done. According to the contract in your suicide note, I don't want any of the family property. He panicked completely and grabbed the hem of my dress. I can break the contract. It won't have legal effect. Everything can be changed. I pried his hand open. Contracts can change, and feelings can change too. Don't be unreasonable. James fell to the ground. The furniture we had chosen together behind him had all turned to ashes, leaving nothing. The divorce was surprisingly smooth. William didn't say anything and praised my ex-husband for being sensible. James held the divorce certificate and stood quietly at the door. He looked terrible. He even buttoned his suit wrong. There were bruises on his face, as if he had fought with someone. Daphne, I'll always wait for you. I'll keep learning to make you like me again. William next to me showed our marriage certificate. Sorry, you can't compare with me in any way. The last time I saw James was in the city's legal newspaper. His reputation plummeted because of a mistake in a lawsuit. I heard that after losing control of his emotions, James was hospitalized. Coincidentally, his family inherited genetic disease flared up. After the fire, his first love didn't visit him anymore. Only those brothers occasionally sent me photos to harass me, asking me to accompany him for the last part of his life, for the sake of our past relationship. I softened my heart and just asked someone to send him a plant to wish him safety. Surprisingly, James really pulled through. When I saw the photos in the WeChat moments again, he changed from being in the center to standing on the edge, and he had lost a lot of weight. I didn't receive any more messages from him. I only heard that he had lost his wife and child, had a huge fight with his family, and was huddled in a corner trying to make a comeback. Later, letters piled up in the mailbox at home, and the housekeeper cleared them out. Madam, these are all letters for you. They were sent a long time ago. Who could be so patient? There are at least 100 letters. The book covers were all written in neat handwriting, and it was James. I glanced at them and said, "Throw them away. Don't accept letters from strangers in the future. I don't know how long the current happiness will last, but the sun is shining brightly." Extra story. James wanted to burn the items of his first love, because he seemed to have become inseparable from his current wife. Although their marriage was initially to deal with family pressure, after 7 years of sharing the same bed, even a dog would develop feelings. When going out today, Daphne didn't kiss him as usual. He was about to leave, but felt an emptiness in his heart. He stayed at the entrance, hoping that she had just forgotten for a moment. However, Daphne calmly started doing housework and advised him to go to work early. "I want to eat fish." He was looking forward to Daphne's smile because whenever he ordered a dish, his wife would always be very happy and busy cooking. She loved cooking and showing off her skills. This was the greatest honor for a housewife. But Daphne didn't even raise her eyebrows and casually agreed. What was going on? James was out of sorts all day. He missed several key clues in the documents at hand. He wanted to call his wife at home, but didn't know what to talk about. Anyway, Daphne loved him so much. What was there to be afraid of? His brother said that his first love was in danger. After all, she was a girl he had liked before. Before setting off, James wanted to report to his wife at home. But the situation was urgent. As long as he bought something to coax her when he got back, Daphne would forgive him. But this time, James panicked. On the other end of the phone, his wife didn't accuse him. Instead, she told him to send his first love home and take care of her. "Whatever you want." After so many years of marriage, even when his wife had a high fever, she wouldn't be so perfunctory to him. Every time something related to his first love happened, Daphne would cry and make a scene, begging him to come home. Why wasn't she jealous this time? James told his brother to take care of his first love and went home to coax his wife. "James, a woman needs to be a little jealous to love you more." Mia softly taught him, "I'm a woman, so of course I understand women. Last time, I deliberately left a mark on your coat. Didn't sister-in-law get even more jealous?" That's right. It seemed that Daphne cared a lot about him. So, he wandered around the vegetable market outside for a few times, before slowly going home. As planned, his brothers called to stir up the relationship between him and Daphne. If she pleaded with him one more time, he would stay. James smiled confidently, waiting for Daphne to plead with him to have dinner again. But she didn't say anything. She just moved aside. "Go ahead. Don't regret it." Regret not having dinner with her? He laughed to himself. There were 3 meals a day, over 1,000 meals a year. What did it matter if he missed one? She was definitely jealous. James didn't want to leave, but he couldn't bring himself to stay, so he grabbed his coat and went out. He didn't go to find his first love. He wandered around the garden. When James saw a flower shop, he thought for a long time, but couldn't remember what kind of flowers Daphne liked. "Sir, buying flowers for your wife? What color and smell does she like?" James was silent. "Pick the most expensive ones." He felt a bit guilty. There were many green plants and flowers on the balcony. He really hadn't paid attention to what his wife liked. When he got home, there was no change in the house. It was just too clean. There were no traces of Daphne's life. James threw the flowers aside and walked around all the rooms. The more he looked, the more panicked he became. He dialed the phone with trembling hands, but it was in an unreachable state. Daphne left suddenly, leaving a divorce agreement and 2 letters beside it. These were the promises he made to his first love when they got married. She must just be throwing a tantrum. It was not until he saw the lucky bamboo that was thrown into the trash can, cut into a mess with scissors. James completely collapsed to the ground. This bamboo was something Daphne had begged for a long time to get from the temple. That day, she hugged him and cried, "I'll take care of it every day. You'll surely be safe, Daphne." Now, her most precious bamboo was with the kitchen waste. How could Daphne bear to do this? How dare she throw it away? There must be a misunderstanding. James didn't care about getting dirty. He picked it out directly and held it in his arms, wiping it clean. He couldn't get through to his wife's phone. No matter how much he tried to play the victim, Daphne didn't even glance at him. When he received the lawsuit entrusted by Williams Group, James was absent-minded. It was a big business deal, after all, with some favor-based transactions. The man opposite introduced with a smile, "James, you have to handle this lawsuit well. This client is my future wife. She wasted her youth on her ex-husband. I think it's a pity. She doesn't deserve to be with that kind of person." James suddenly thought of his own wife. Later, he found out that this lousy ex-husband was actually himself. Going around in circles, he was like a shrew, making a scene at Daphne's door again and again. But she no longer cared about his wounds, and there was no trace of remembrance in her eyes. It was all over. After getting drunk one time, James burned down the house, along with all the traces of his life with Daphne. When the firefighters dragged him out of the house, all he had left in his hand was a handful of ashes. Thinking that his wife would feel sorry for him and take him in, Daphne only talked about divorce. Even when he was in the ICU, Daphne didn't come to visit. This time, it was his turn to be unable to let go and be a jealous husband. When Daphne got remarried, James secretly came to the wedding. There was no place for him at the venue, so he secretly peeked from a distance to see if she was happy. After losing his job and going for job interviews, James would still insist on sending a letter to Daphne's home every week. But he never received a reply. The person at the post office asked him, little by little, "How many letters have you sent? I haven't seen your beloved reply." James bought stamps and said nothing. He would keep sending letters. Maybe one day Daphne would fall in love with him again.